Alright guys, so I'm just doing a quick video on how to use pocket holes to quickly and easily make drawer boxes. So here's an example of a finished drawer box. Very sturdy, and I'm using 4 pocket holes on one side, 4 on the other, and then I'm using several down below. Now you could go with less. I only really probably need 3 here, but I want this to be able to handle some weight. If I want, this is going to be in a set of nightstands, and if I want to put anything with some weight in there, I just wanted to make sure that it was very sturdy. I'm only using 1/2 inch plywood, but that's all we should need. So let's get through it. So you can see I've got my pieces here. I've got my sides, my front and back. Now this will come together. I set it up in a way that the front and the back will hold the sides in place, and the bottom will hold all the pieces in place. So what I like to do is I'm gonna measure and mark and do all my pocket holes. And once I've got all the pocket holes in place, then I'm gonna go ahead and square up the 4 sides, the fronts and the sides, and pocket hole those together. And then lastly, I'm gonna attach them all to this base. So I don't need any pocket hole screws on these 2 front and back pieces. So I'm gonna set those aside. And then here's my 2 sides. And as we talked about before, I've got 2. Now I didn't go to the bottom because the bottom of this drawer is going to actually attach in all the way around. So I'm just doing 2 up here, and I'm leaving space for where I'm going to put my drawer slides, which are going to be somewhere around this area. So with that said, we just need to mark our 2 on each of these 2 ends, and I already have it measured out, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark it real quick. For these particular ones, I'm doing 3.5 and 6 1/4. So you're going to choose the side that you want on the top, which I'm going to say I want this side on top. So I'm going to go this way, mark 3.5 and 6 1/4, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this board. Next, we've got this bottom piece, and this bottom piece, I'm going to flip it over. And over here is where, by the way, if you find lumber from like Lowe's and Home Depot, if you find like a piece that has a little bit of damage, but you're going to use most of it and it doesn't have to be a perfect sheet, then you can get a discount. So keep that in mind, fellas. All right, so on the long side, I'm doing 1 1/8, and then I'm doing 8, 15, and then I'm doing 21.5. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Another helpful tip, if you keep another piece of lumber that's the same size next to it, your tape measure doesn't need to drop down, and just makes it a little bit easier. All right, so now the long sides are marked. Now I just have to do the short sides, which are going to be 1 1/4, 7 3/8, 1 1/4, 7 3/8, and then we've got 13.5. You can do the same thing on this other end. All right, that's it. So now the drawer boxes are all marked from our pocket holes. We'll go over to the pocket hole machine and set these up. All right, guys, so there's lots of different jigs that you can get to make your pocket holes. There's units you can mount to a table. There's little portable units, just depending on what kind of project you're doing. In this case, these are all easy to manipulate, so I can just put them right into this jig. If it was a bigger piece that I couldn't really set in here, then you can either take this out, or I have separate pocket hole jigs that are just able to clamp onto the wood wherever you need to. So wherever we marked our marks, we're just going to go ahead and put the pocket holes in. So I've already set the settings on this. If you're unfamiliar with that, that's something we can go into in another video, but take it. Now I've noticed with this 1/2 inch plywood, it's a finished plywood, that if you come out nice and slow, you get a pretty smooth finish. But if you actually pull back out fast after you drill it in, it has a lot more of a rough, burry, loose fibers kind of look to it. So keep that in mind. Let's clean up. So you can see that was pretty quick and everything's lined up pretty well. That's all we need. All right, so this is 1/2 inch wood. So I'm using 1-inch Kreg pocket hole screws. And all we need to do is we're gonna put this together. Let me move this other box out of the way now. And so this will go on the bottom. So we'll flip it over. And then these will be on the top, on the outside, and we can look and see which side we want. It doesn't really matter, but I think I like the look of that side and the look of this side. That's how I kind of set it up. And then we'll put our side front pieces on, like so. All right, so that's gonna be how it looks. The reason I'm doing these first is so I can make sure that this is squared up here, and that way when I tighten on the bottom, this is already square, because if this isn't perfect, I tighten it on, it's a little bit stuck at an angle, then it's just easier this way for me. There's different ways of doing this, but I'll set up like that. We're not using glue, so we can take it back apart, so that makes this part pretty easy. All we have to do is clamp it like so. Now, I could have clamped this higher up, but I actually clamped it at the bottom, because then when these screws go in, it's going to pull these tight and it's going to be square to how the bottom lines up. But you could always just clamp it right across the high member here if you really wanted to. Just depends on what you're looking to do. Remember to change how much torque you have on this. This is only 1/2 inch material, so I'm going with 3, should be plenty. If you don't, you'll blow right through it. Same thing, I'm going to line this up. You can see when you square this off, it's nice and flush. Just how you want it. So I'm going to start off by doing the short sides. And it's already lined up right where I want it to be. Just like that. I can do it on the same side over here. Same thing, it's clamped down, lined up right where I want it to be, nice and flush. And then we're gonna go ahead and hit the top, nice and flush, just how I want it. Now, if I needed to adjust a little bit, I could reach around, tap it out, but that's right where I want it to be. You can see I can get this last one in too. Keep it nice and flush, and then I'll do the same thing on this other side. And most of your height should be how you want it at this point, but I feel like this is a good height on this side. That side's a little low, but I can just come up here like that, clamp down this side a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this side first, because it's all lined up how I want it to be. And this is on 3, and that started to pull through. So I'm going to take it down to 2 for now. I don't want to bust through this. Okay. There we go. We're going to hit this last side. So all you have to do is lift up. And then same thing, I'm going to lift up here. Looks good. But this looks good. I actually want to get that a little higher if I can. And this is just being nitpicky, just making it as nice as possible. I'm going to come in over here first. There we go. This one's lined up nice. And then our last one. See if that pushes up. It's really close, but let's just see if we can push it up a little bit there. There we go. All right, and that's it. So, very solid. Again, you probably don't have to use quite as many pocket hole screws, but I want this to be able to handle some weight. I've got some good heavy duty drawer slides. Maybe in the nightstands if I put some heavy stuff in there. An example, if someone liked to keep a lot of books, you know, this can handle that kind of weight, or just other things that are heavy. But you can see it actually came out really well. Looks nice and solid everywhere. It's all nice and flush. By the way, for those of you who are interested, here's a square to check the work. You can see I think we're looking pretty good. Yep, right on. And that's it. So it's really simple. If you just use pocket hole screws to put your drawer boxes together. And then as an example, these are my fronts. So this is my actual cedar front, and that's gonna sit in just like that. This will be centered on it, and I'll attach those. So it'll look like that. So that's how it'll look when it's done. Nice quality drawer box. Hope you guys found this informational and helpful. As always, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.